All right, guys, I'm back, and guess what time it is? It's time for an ice cold Keystone, because fuck yeah, America. All right, before I get started in this video, and I want to make sure this is clear, I'm not the big mechanic, I'm not this Titan Motorsports. This is going off my knowledge and knowledge of my friend Chris Larson over at Night Run Garage and Jose Valia over at KEYSTONE Motorsports, what they could give me. So this isn't 100% of what their abilities are either, this is just of what my knowledge is. I wanted to make sure that was clear. Number two, I wanted to go ahead and throw out there, guys, I have all my stuff listed down below for my new merchandise that's out. I've got new hats, I've got new t-shirts coming. This is all live as of today. All pre-orders are good to go for the new t-shirts, so I hope you guys like them and hope you place some orders. I ordered a ton of these things, so please, please, please buy them, because if not, I am fucked. All right, so let's get to the video at hand, and let's really break down the 1JZ versus 2JZ whole, well, debate. So I actually get asked this a lot, what's the difference between the 1JZ versus 2JZ? Like, it's obviously there's one numerical number there, 1, 2. So I'm trying to give you a little bit of basis, and this is going off some of my friends' knowledge here. So I'll be pulling out my phone a lot for some of the cliff notes I have, and then going off a lot of the knowledge I have from building the 2JZ that's in my Supra. The 1JZ I'm not as well versed with. I know enough, but not as much as I probably should, unlike the 2JZ, which I can pretty much rattle off everything you need to know about that. So let's go ahead and start off with number one here, which is size. A 1JZ is a 2.5 liter and a 2JZ is a 3.0 liter. So right off the bat, the 2JZ has it has the displacement right to its advantage. You're going to get better torque and all that good stuff. But the big thing here with this is, and I didn't even know this either, they can hold about the same power with the fact that the 1JZ has a shorter stroke. The rods don't give out like a 2JZ does. Around the 800 to 900 wheel horsepower range, or 600, sorry for the belch, but the 600 foot-pound to 650 foot-pound range, the rods on the 2JZ tend to go, and the same thing with a 1JZ. So a smaller motor can take the same amount of power. The problem is you're not going to get the same torque that you are with a 3-liter 2JZ that you will with a 1JZ. So a 2JZ will give you a better torque curve, you have more power down low, unlike a 1JZ where it'll have a ton of power up top, but it has no balls down low. And we already know how a turbo car can be. It can be laggy, so that's just adding to that lagginess. Me personally, I don't want that. But the one thing the 1JZ has is you can rev the shit out of them. The stock rev limiter is around 7,200 and a 2JZ is 6,700. So you're getting just right off the bat there around 500 RPM just from a stock motor standpoint. So that's pretty awesome in that fact right there. And one thing I should make clear here too, guys, I'm starting off the first part of this here, I'm starting off talking about non-VVT-i. The VVT-i motors are different from the non-VVT-i motor, which is variable valve timing. I'm talking about non-VVT-i motors right now just because that's what most people think of. I can get into that a little bit here further on, but for the most part right here off the bat, we're going to be speaking about the non-VVT-i versions of both of these motors. So stock for stock power-wise, you're looking at around 275, 276 horsepower crank. For the 1JZ, and the 2JZ here in the US had 320 crank horsepower. Now wheel-wise, I'm not really too sure about the 1JZ. I do know with the 2JZ that they were known from the factory, nothing done to them to make 320 or 325, which is unheard of, to the wheels, showing that these cars really were overbuilt, had a little bit more extra power than they wanted to admit from the factory. They were pretty beastly cars. The 1JZ, just like the 2JZ in Japan, both have twin turbos, but they both have ceramic turbos, where the US model 2JZ here in the US, we had steel blade turbos. So I'm actually talking about the actual blade inside the turbo itself. The Japanese versions of both motors have ceramic blades, and once again, the USDM 2JZ here in the US had steel blades. Designed the first head. So the 1JZ head was designed 100% from Yamaha, period. That was it. That was their baby. They built it from scratch. Everyone says with the 2JZ that it is built by Yamaha, and it is to a point, and let me explain. So Yamaha didn't step back in and go, okay, we're going to do this thing from scratch. What happened was they took the premises of what they had from the 1JZ, revamped it, and that's how we got our 2JZ head. So Yamaha didn't come back in and go, all right, we're going to do this, this, and this. That's not what happened. Toyota took what they had from the 1JZ, revamped it enough to what they could use for the new motor, and made it work. So it's based off a Yamaha head, off the 1JZ, but it's not a completely revamped head from Yamaha, if that makes sense. But they're both okay flowing heads. If anyone knows inline motors, that's probably one of their biggest downfalls, just from the way the intake runners are. You're sucking in air from the front of that intake the whole way back, so the number 6 piston is just not getting nearly as much air as the first 3, or say, if you want to say the first 3 pistons are getting all the air, and the last 3, the 4, 5, and 6 just aren't. That's the one bad problem with the inline motor. But that being said, the head design itself is just pretty poor on both the cars. I know people have said the 2JZ-GE, which is another video, which I'll post that down below, their heads flow better. No one's ever been able to prove that, but everyone knows for the most part the 1JZ and 2JZ heads flow like dog crap. Even when poured, polished, built, they do much better, but it's still not ideal like you could get out of a V6 style motor, like a VG30 from a Nissan. So some more information for you. People ask, can you bolt up, say, the head design I just mentioned there was different. Can you bolt up, say, a turbo manifold from a 1JZ to a 2JZ? No, you cannot. The heads are completely different in that aspect. The bolt design, everything's completely different. The ports are totally different, intake and exhaust side. So you can't bolt up, say, your intake manifold or your exhaust manifold from a 2JZ or from your 1JZ up to a 2JZ, which is pretty much normal. It's just like a 2JZ-GE motor. You can't, the heads are different on those. You can't bolt up a turbo manifold from that to a GTE motor. But a lot of people actually ask that all the time if you can do that. Unfortunately, you cannot. That's just nature of the beast. So both the motors do use 6 coil packs. They use Denso coil packs across the whole entire motor, both the 1JZ and 2JZ, which makes it very nice, especially for tuning abilities. You don't have spark blowout like you do when you have coil with coil and plug. So it makes life a little bit easier. And from the factory, the coil packs are plenty strong. Now they do use a igniter. Just how they have it set up from back then. They are a waste spark style setup, but they work just fine. I'm still using that on my car, making 650 on my 2JZ, using a stock igniter and having 0 issues. So I mentioned there earlier about being what's weaker or stronger, is one better than the other, what, this, that, and the other. They both forge bottom ends, so the cranks are both forged in both motors. They both have proper pistons. Everything seems to be able to last in the motors. There's nothing really special in that aspect. You're just really, which area do you want to be? Do you want to be able to rev to the moon and back? Not saying a 2JZ can't rev to the moon and back, but a smaller displacement car with a shorter stroke is going to be able to do it a lot easier and a lot safer. A 1JZ, if you want to, have something revving to 9 grand all the time, you build the motor and you want to rev to 9 grand, that's where you want to go. Me personally also, 1JZ sounds better than the 2JZ, and it has all the great capabilities that, say, an RB26, which is known for its sound. It has the same sound of, say, an RB26 without all the oiling issues and all the problems that an RB26 comes with. You get the best of both worlds. You get all the reliability, you get the great sound, and you don't have any issues. So you can't really beat that. That being said, the 2JZ can hold more power in the long haul, and you have displacement. And the old saying goes, there's no replacement for displacement. It just makes more sense to go with the 2JZ down the long haul. That being said, like I was just thinking about it today, and I was actually talking to the guys. Why aren't more people using the 1JZ? And the only thing I can really come to, or why people aren't using them compared to 2JZ, is 1, displacement. Number 2, I think the amount of years that they were made. The 1JZ was made from 1989 till 93, and then the 2JZ was made and put in cars from, and every car at that, it was used here in the US and Japan from 93 and a half up until, good Lord, up until 05, 06. I mean, they just made so many of them, and they came in every sedan, sports car. They just made a plethora of them, and there are just so many of them out there. Now, that being said, the non-VVT-i ones are starting to get scarce. The VVT-i head ones, there's still a bajillion of them out there, but it has started to worry me. I am starting to think, like, crap, I need to start stocking up on the blocks and heads, because the prices are starting to get crazy. You can find a non-VVT-i 2JZ running over $3,500, $4,000 now for a motor, where you can get a 1JZ for under 2 grand all day long. They just don't command the same price tags that a 2JZ does. But once again, I think it's a displacement thing, power thing. Fast and Furious might be part of that, but I think that's kind of subsided from the past. I think most people now just build them just because parts are there, the displacement's there, and the tunability's there. It just makes more sense. Why start out with a smaller motor when you have something that's more capable right off the bat? It just makes more sense. Now, if you want to break it down even more yet, so we're talking about the 1JZ versus 2JZ transmission-wise. If you want to talk about turbo for turbo, a 1JZ would have came with an R154. Now, that being said, there's multiple types of the R154, but it would have came with an R154 transmission, which is fine. Actually, I believe the Soars would came with the tripod-style 1JZ, and I might even be wrong on this. I think they might have made them a little bit longer, but they made the tripod-style 1JZ transmission and it's beast. That's what I actually have in my Mark IV Super right here. It's been holding up just fine for me, but the 2JZ came with the end-all be-all transmission, which is the Getrag V160, which could hold a boatload of power and still does to this day. Guys making 1,500 plus wheel horsepower on a bone stock transmission. Now they are starting to show their age, and they've become very expensive here over the years because of time and things aging and breaking and parts being discontinued for them has kind of made them a little much, and a lot of people are switching over to the T56 Magnum made by Tremec just because of part availability. But the transmissions, if you can find them, have them rebuilt. There are some gears being remade for them. If you can have them rebuilt, they are still the end-all be-all. That being said, I know a lot of people have talked crap on the R154 and that it can't hold power and it can't do this and it can't do that. Well, I've been making 654 wheel horsepower in mine for quite some time now. It's a fully built Marlin crawler transmission. When I mean fully built, the gears are still stock. I want to make sure that's clear. You know, where all your stress is on the gear. The only thing it's built on it, all the shift forks are replaced in it. They're all blue aluminum, thrust bearing, all that stuff has been replaced, and it does help a ton, but at the end of the day, your gear is what's holding all the power. You know, having those shift forks built, it makes shifting a lot easier and smoother. You don't have to worry about braking like the cast ones are from the factory. But at the end of the day, once you're in gear and you're putting all the pressure, you're putting all the power down, it's on a stock factory gear. And I've been having no issues. I'm probably about 3,000 miles on the setup right now, and I'm hard. When I mean hard on the car. I constantly do burnouts. I'm constantly banging gears, and it's not giving me an issue. I'm going to drain the fluid out of here shortly and check on it. But that being said, that stuff all holds up just great. So there's some of the things with the guys that kind of make them unique in themselves. The 1JZ is for some people, the 2JZ is for others. If you want to rev it out, I recommend going the 1JZ route. If you want to make big power and rev it out some, the 2JZ is where it's at. It's still king. I think in the import world right now, I might get shunned for this, but I still think the 2JZ is the ultimate import motor. The R35, the VR38 is pretty beastly in itself, but it doesn't have the switchability. Like, you can't just throw it in anything you want. I mean, how many cars do you know that have a 2JZ in it nowadays? Everything does. Everyone swaps it in. The VR38 makes it a little bit harder, just the way the transmission setup is and what you can bolt to it. I see it becoming more popular in the future. What makes it harder, though, too, is it only comes in one car, and that's the R35 GTR. So the cost of them is way higher than a motor that came in literally sedan. So that's another issue that you're going to run into in itself. So guys, to break this down and finish this off, let's break it down to what do you want and what are you looking for? Do you want a 2JZ? So if you're over here looking at 2JZ, you're looking at low-end torque, you're looking at availability of parts, and you're looking to make stupid, obnoxious amounts of power and have the availability here in the US. Some of the downsides are, number one is going to be cost. That's going to probably be your biggest downfall with them, especially with rising prices right now. Cost on one of these bad boys is going to be more than I would want to pay anymore. I got mine years ago, so it's a little bit different. And then just finding some of the parts that you're looking for. Some things are starting to get a little rare and a little bit harder to get, but it could be worse. Now here on the other hand, you have the 1JZ, which you can get for stupid cheap. They're very much available. You can get non-VVT-i or VVT-i motor all day long. But one of the issues is going to be getting it here in general, finding someone who has one versus a 2JZ, which seem to be plentiful. Another issue is going to be the part availability versus the 2JZ, which here in the US, there's a million parts for the 2JZ when it comes to performance parts. Stock parts, not so much, but performance part-wise, there's a ton of shit you can buy. All right, guys, I hope this video was somewhat helpful. If it didn't answer something, please comment down below and let me know what you want or you're thinking, or if there's something I could have possibly said wrong, I apologize. I try to give the basic rundown here. I'm not a 1JZ expert. I'd like to think I'm pretty versed with the 2JZ. It's my bread and butter. That's my baby. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, please let me know down below. Also, again, if you could do me a big favor, go check out the Facebook and Instagram. I'm always posting stuff way ahead of time. Also, go check out the merchandise. Like I said, got new hats here, got new t-shirts. Everything's ready to be purchased today, and the pre-order for the new shirts are here. Thank you guys very much, and I'll talk to you later. Peace!